Hello there, I'm so glad you found your way here. Tonight, as the world outside grows quieter and the hours slip softly into the deep, velvet hush of evening, I'd like to invite you to settle in, breathe gently, and allow yourself to rest. There is nothing you need to do now. Nothing you need to remember. Nothing you need to hold. The day has done its work, and the soft hours have arrived to do theirs. Let your shoulders soften like petals folding inward. Let your eyes grow heavy, the way a candle slowly surrenders to its own warm glow. Let the weight of the world drift away from you, the way mist lifts gently from a still, mirrored pond at dawn. Feel the quiet around you, the comforting weight of your blankets, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. You are safe here. You are warm. You are exactly where you need to be. Tonight, our slow and gentle journey takes us across oceans and centuries to a place where stone and starlight meet, where ancient hands once carved devotion into sandstone, and where the jungle has long since wrapped its tender green arms around forgotten towers. We are traveling to Angkor Wat, the great temple city of Cambodia, where every stone holds a story, every shadow remembers a prayer, and every sunrise feels like the very first sunrise the world has ever known. We'll wander together through quiet corridors of carved lotus, beneath spires that once reached toward heaven, across moats that mirror the moon, and through forest paths where time itself seems to slow. If you'd like to support these gentle journeys, you're welcome to softly tap the like button and follow along, but only if it feels easy. Now, with your breath slowing, your body softening, and your heart resting gently in the quiet of this moment, let's begin this slow and soothing journey. Imagine, for a moment, that the room around you slowly begins to fade. The walls soften into mist. The ceiling drifts upward into a sky brushed with the deep blues of early evening, and beneath you, instead of the floor, a warm path of pale weathered stone gently appears, smoothed by countless centuries of soft footsteps and gentle rain. The air grows warm and fragrant, scented faintly with jasmine, frangipani, and the cool green breath of jungle leaves. Somewhere far away, a temple bell sounds once, then falls quiet, leaving only the hush of distant water and the lullaby of unseen birds. There is no hurry here, no path you must follow, only this slow, dreamlike wandering, where every fact becomes a story, every story becomes a feeling, and every feeling becomes the soft, settling weight of sleep. And so, with the night wrapped softly around us, we begin to walk. Our first soft footsteps carry us across a long stone causeway, wide and pale and warm beneath us, stretching gently across a vast, still moat. This moat is older than most kingdoms the world remembers, hand-dug over many quiet generations, nearly 4 miles around in its calm, perfect rectangle. Tonight, its surface lies as still as polished glass, holding the entire sky within it, every soft cloud, every drifting star, every gentle shimmer of the rising moon. Lotus pads float in slow constellations across the water, their pink and ivory petals folded softly against the night. Tiny ripples wander outward from places where dragonflies once touched the surface and have long since drifted away. The water remembers everything and forgets nothing. It cradles the temple's reflection like a mother holding a sleeping child, mirroring the towers in trembling silver, doubling the world and inviting us to walk gently onward, deeper into the dream. At the far end of the causeway, the temple itself slowly comes into view, rising softly from the trees like a sandstone mountain dreamed into being. Angkor Wat is the largest religious monument in the world, spread across nearly 500 acres of quiet forest. Yet from here it feels less like a building and more like a sleeping creature of stone, breathing slowly beneath the stars. Its 5 great towers lift gently into the night, shaped like closed lotus buds, their tips brushed faintly silver by the moonlight. The walls glow with a soft honey hue, warm and patient, as though they still hold the heat of 1,000 long afternoons. Vines drape lazily across forgotten corners, Moss has grown into 1,000 small green pillows, and the temple, unhurried and ancient, simply waits. The way mountains wait, the way stars wait, gently, endlessly, peacefully. The temple was built almost 900 years ago, beginning in the soft, sunlit reign of a king named Suryavarman II, whose name means protector of the sun. He dreamed of a temple that would mirror the heavens, a small earthly echo of the cosmic mountain where the gods were said to dwell. And so, stone by patient stone, his vision rose from the plains of Cambodia. Thousands of gentle hands carried sandstone from a faraway mountain called Phnom Kulen, floating it down quiet rivers on bamboo rafts, drifting beneath drifting clouds. Each block was shaped with care, fitted so perfectly that even now, no mortar holds them together, only the soft, certain pressure of stone resting against stone. The temple was an offering, a prayer made solid, a kingdom's quiet way of touching the sky. And somehow, after all these centuries, it still feels exactly that way tonight. We step softly through the outer gateway, where the air feels suddenly cooler, hushed, as though the stones themselves are listening. The corridor stretches long and dim before us, lined with tall columns that catch faint streams of moonlight and carry them across the floor in pale silver ribbons. Carvings cover every surface, soft reliefs worn gentle by time, telling stories so old that their endings have drifted away on the wind. Here, a goddess dances forever in mid-step, her stone scarf still floating after 9 centuries. There, a procession of elephants walks slowly along the wall, their carved feet never tiring, never arriving, simply walking, the way a quiet river simply flows. The sandstone is warm beneath our fingertips, like skin that remembers sunlight, and the air smells faintly of incense. Though no incense has burned here in hours, the corridor opens softly into a gallery that runs for nearly half a mile along the temple's walls, one of the longest continuous stone carvings ever made by human hands. Here, ancient artists carved entire universes into the rock, scene after scene flowing into each other like waves along a peaceful shore. Armies march in perfect rows that never reach a battle. Gods and demons pull on a great serpent, churning the ocean of milk into nectar, their patient stone faces forever caught between effort and bliss. Apsaras, the celestial dancers, twirl in slow eternal joy, their hair lifted in a breeze that stopped blowing centuries ago. We walk slowly past them, and they seem to walk with us, their carved smiles softly catching the moonlight. The whole gallery feels like a long, lullabying poem written in stone. A poem that needs no reading, only quiet, dreaming attention. Above us, the ceiling rises into soft darkness, where bats once nested and starlight now drifts through small openings worn by gentle weather. The stones overhead are smoke dark with the breath of long-ago candles, lit by monks whose names are forgotten and whose prayers have long since dissolved into the wind. Yet the warmth of those prayers still lingers, like the lingering warmth of a quilt that has just been folded away. Every footstep we take echoes softly, a small whisper added to the temple's long, slow conversation with time. Somewhere far above, a small bird shifts in its nest, then quiets. Somewhere far below, a single drop of water falls into a hidden pool. The temple breathes. The world breathes. And we, too, breathe, slow and soft, in rhythm with the night. The galleries open suddenly into a vast inner courtyard, bathed in pale moonlight, the grass below silvered like the surface of a still lake. The 5 lotus towers rise around us now, closer than before, their familiar silhouettes lifted softly against the velvet sky. Each tower is shaped to mimic the legendary peaks of Mount Meru, the sacred mountain at the center of the universe in ancient Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. The central tower is the tallest, representing the highest peak where the gods reside, and the 4 corner towers represent the lesser peaks that surround it. Together, they form a stone mandala, a cosmic diagram laid gently across the earth. Standing here, in the cool quiet of midnight, it truly feels as though we are at the center of something. not just the temple, but the slow turning heart of a much larger, much older dream. The central tower rises more than 200 feet above us, taller than a 20-story building, though it never feels imposing, only protective, the way a kind, patient grandparent feels protective. Its sides are carved with delicate lotus motifs, the petals folded soft, as though the stone itself is praying. Long ago, the very top of this tower held a sacred image, a likeness of the god Vishnu, the preserver, the gentle one who lay sleeping upon a cosmic ocean and dreamed the world into being. The image is gone now, carried away by the slow tide of centuries, but the tower still feels filled with that sleeping presence, that gentle, dreaming god, eyes softly closed, breath slow and even, dreaming us all into this very moment. The name Angkor Wat itself unfolds like a soft two-petal flower of meaning. Angkor comes from a Khmer word that gently means city, a word once used for the great capital of an empire that stretched across much of Southeast Asia. Wat means temple, the same word still spoken softly today in Cambodia and Thailand whenever pilgrims gather. Together, the name simply means city temple, but to those who walk its courtyards, it feels like something more, a city built not for people, but for prayers, a city whose only citizens are dreams and devotion. The name has been whispered for centuries, carried across oceans on the lips of travelers, written in the journals of explorers, painted in the dreams of poets. And tonight it whispers softly to us, gently, dreamily, like a name remembered from a half-forgotten lullaby. Long before the temple became known to the wider world, it was already a place of quiet legend. Local Cambodian people, the Khmer, had never truly forgotten Angkor Wat, even when much of the surrounding city slowly returned to the forest. Buddhist monks tended its inner shrines, lit small candles, and chanted slow, low prayers in the cool shade of its corridors. Farmers planted gentle rows of rice in the surrounding plains, their water buffalo lowing softly at dusk. Children played near the moat, watching the water shimmer in the late afternoon sun. The temple was never lost. It was simply quiet, sleeping lightly beneath the canopy, waiting the way a beautiful song waits between verses, knowing the next note will come whenever the world is ready to hear it. In the warm, humid year of 1860, a French naturalist named Henri Mouhot wandered slowly into the forest, looking for butterflies and orchids. What he found instead was a city of stone. He wrote in his journal, in soft, astonished words, that what he saw was grander than anything left to us by Greece or Rome. His writings drifted home across oceans, carried in the holds of slow ships and the pages of quiet evening newspapers, and the world outside Cambodia slowly began to dream of Angkor for the first time. Mouhot himself never returned home. He died of fever soon after, his journal entries the only sign of his wonder. But his gentle wonder did not die. It travels still, on every soft breath of every traveler who, even tonight, walks slowly through these moonlit corridors. If we lift our eyes now toward the eastern sky, we might begin to imagine the way the sun rises over Angkor Wat. The temple was carefully oriented so that, twice a year, on the spring and autumn equinoxes, the sun rises directly behind the central tower, perfectly framed, as if the heavens themselves choose to honor it. The ancient builders understood the stars with quiet, patient brilliance, aligning their stones with the slow turning of the cosmos. They wove astronomy into architecture, the way poets weave images into verse. Tonight, in our gentle imagining, we will not wait for sunrise. The moon is enough. But somewhere far above, the same stars that the temple was aligned with still wheels slowly across the velvet sky. The same stars that watched the first stone settle into place. The same stars that watch over us now. The temple's orientation also faces west, which is unusual. Most Hindu temples of its era face east, toward the rising sun and the world of the living. Angkor Wat faces west, toward the setting sun, and in old beliefs, the gentle world of the ancestors. Some scholars whisper that this was because the temple was always intended as a funerary monument for its king, a quiet resting place for his soul after the soft closing of his earthly day. Others say it was simply built in honor of Vishnu, who is sometimes associated with the western direction. Whatever the truth, the temple's west-facing gate gives it a special tenderness. When the sun goes down, its light pours directly through the corridors, painting everything in soft amber. A slow golden goodbye to the day, repeated again and again across 900 years. The Khmer people who built Angkor Wat lived in a kingdom called the Khmer Empire, one of the most peaceful and prosperous civilizations of medieval Southeast Asia. At its gentle height, around the year 1200, the empire stretched across parts of modern Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. Their capital city, simply called Angkor, may have been the largest city in the world before the industrial era, home to perhaps 1 million people, all living among rice paddies, canals, lily ponds, and temples beyond counting. They were skilled in irrigation, music, dance, sculpture, and the slow, patient art of carving stories into stone. Their kings were considered semi-divine, but their farmers and weavers, their potters and gardeners, were the true heart of the empire, hands gentle, lives slow, days woven from sunlight and song. The empire's quiet genius was its mastery of water. Around the great city, the Khmer engineers built a vast network of reservoirs called bas-reliefs, some of them miles across, holding still mirror-like pools that gathered the monsoon rains and released them slowly through the dry season. Canals threaded between fields like silver ribbons, pools nestled inside temples like sleeping lakes. The whole landscape became a soft, breathing system of water, sustaining millions of lives, blessing every grain of rice and every lotus petal. To stand near a bas-relief at twilight, even today, is to feel a kind of cool peace settle gently into your bones. The water reflects the sky so faithfully that you cannot tell where the clouds end and their watery twins begin. It is a place where the world above and the world below come tenderly to rest. The largest of these reservoirs, the West Bas-relief, is still here, holding water as it has for nearly 1,000 years. It is more than 5 miles long and 1 mile wide, a great sleeping mirror across the plains. Local people swim in its shallows on warm afternoons, paddle small wooden boats through its quiet bends, and fish gently in its slow currents. Long ago, it may have served not only as a reservoir, but as a sacred symbol, an earthly version of the cosmic ocean that, in ancient stories, surrounded the world. Looking across it at sunset, one can almost believe those stories. The water glows pink and orange and palest gold, while small white herons drift across like petals in the wind. And the temples in the distance shimmer in the haze, soft as a memory you can almost remember. Now we wander gently into one of the temple's inner courtyards, where the moonlight pools especially silver and soft. Here, the walls are decorated with thousands of carvings of apsaras, the celestial dancers we mentioned earlier. There are believed to be over 1,800 of them throughout the temple complex, each one unique, each one carved with her own face, her own jewelry, her own gentle pose. Some lift their delicate hands in graceful gestures called mudras. Others smile shyly, their stone eyes half closed. Some wear elaborate headdresses shaped like flames or flowers. Others wear only the softest of stone garments, gentle as a sigh. To stand among them is to feel surrounded by quiet, joyful presences, each one frozen mid-dance, each one perfectly at peace. They have been dancing here, silently, for 900 years. And tonight, they dance for us. The artists who carved these apsaras were truly extraordinary, their patience almost beyond imagining. A single dancer might take weeks or months to complete. They worked with small iron chisels and wooden mallets, tapping gently into the sandstone, drawing slow life from quiet rock. They studied the bodies of real dancers, the way muscles moved, the way fabric draped, the way eyes softened in a moment of inner joy. Then they translated all of that into stone. They were not signing their work. There are no carved names, no proud signatures. They simply gave their gift and disappeared into history, leaving only beauty behind. To think of them now, working slowly by torchlight, sandstone dust on their hands, their quiet breath, the only sound, is to feel a soft, sweet ache of gratitude. Their work outlived them. Their tenderness is still here. Carving sandstone is gentler than carving granite or marble, but it requires great care. Sandstone is soft enough to shape with delicate detail, but it can chip if struck too hard. The Khmer artists worked in cool morning hours, when the stone was easier to read and the air carried fewer flies. They wet the stone slightly to bring out its color and texture. They sometimes painted finished carvings with bright pigments, reds and golds and ocean blues, though all those colors have long since faded into the soft pinks and creams of the bare stone. To imagine the temple as it once was, freshly painted, gleaming under tropical sun, is to imagine a kind of jeweled music made visible. And to see it now, weathered and gentle, is to see that music slowly settling into a long, sweet evening lullaby. We pause for a moment beside a great stone window where the carved bars are shaped like tiny pillars, slightly bulged in the middle and tapered at the ends. These are called balusters, and they are common throughout Khmer architecture. They were carved to look like the lathe-turned wooden window bars of older temples, even though they are made entirely of stone. The window itself opens onto an interior courtyard where a small banyan tree has slowly grown over the centuries, its roots resting gently across the stone like the fingers of a sleeping giant. The leaves rustle softly, and pale moonlight falls between them in trembling pools. Somewhere far above, a small gecko makes its tiny, comforting chirp, the soft pulse of jungle nights. The window frames it all like a painting, and we stand and look, breathing slowly, peacefully, time itself softening around our shoulders. Cambodia's climate is shaped by two great breaths, the wet season and the dry season. The temple has weathered both for nearly 1,000 years. During the wet season, from May to October, monsoon rains arrive in slow, drenching showers, filling the moat, watering the rice fields, washing the stones to a fresh, deep gold. The air is heavy and warm, scented with petrichor and frangipani. During the dry season, from November to April, the air grows cooler and brighter. The lotus blossoms bloom in great clouds, and the temple stones glow softly under crisp blue skies. Each season is its own gift. The temple holds them both gently, like an old, kind grandmother who knows all the moods of her grandchildren and loves each one equally, patiently, endlessly. In our quiet wandering, we have come to a small library within the temple grounds. Yes, there are libraries here, two small ones, set near the western entrance like quiet companions to the main temple. They are not libraries in the modern sense. They were places where sacred texts may have been stored or recited, or perhaps where small rituals were performed. They are beautiful little buildings, perfectly proportioned, with carved doorways and small interior chambers. Tonight, they sit silent in the moonlight, their roofs softly mossed, their walls patiently holding the cool air. If you close your eyes for a moment beside one of them, you can almost hear the soft chant of long-ago voices, reciting verses by candlelight, words drifting gently into the night, the way petals drift gently onto still water. The sacred texts of the Khmer were written in two main languages, Sanskrit and Old Khmer. Sanskrit was the language of religion and ritual, the formal tongue of priests and gods. Old Khmer was the everyday language of poetry, daily life, royal decrees, and quiet evening songs. Many inscriptions on the temple walls were written in these languages, etched in elegant flowing script that looks almost like delicate lace. Some inscriptions tell the names of the kings who built or restored sections. Others record gifts of land, oil, or rice given to the temple. Reading them today is like overhearing very soft, very old voices, voices that once cared about which fields belonged to whom, which festivals were upcoming, which dancers had been blessed. The voices are long gone, but the script remains, patient as a mother waiting for a child to come home. Around the year 1431, After great political shifts and gentle changes in trade routes, the Khmer capital was slowly moved south, toward the gentle banks of the Mekong River, near what is today Phnom Penh. The great city of Angkor, with its many temples, was not abandoned, but it grew quieter. Fewer people lived among its causeways. The forest, patient and tender, began to soften its edges. Vines grew over walls, roots slipped between stones, birds nested in the towers. The water in the canals grew still, and yet Angkor Wat itself never fell silent. Buddhist monks remained, tending their candles. Pilgrims still came, walking softly across the causeway in the early light. The temple simply changed its rhythm, slowing, like a heartbeat at the edge of sleep, breathing more gently with each passing century. In time, the temple became a Buddhist site, though it had been built originally as a Hindu monument. Many of the carvings remained, but new ones were added. Statues of the Buddha were placed in inner chambers. Saffron robes flickered softly in the corridors. The change happened gently, like an old room being lovingly redecorated, with care for everything that came before. Today, you can still see this dual heritage everywhere in the temple. A Hindu god leans against a Buddhist altar. A carving of Vishnu watches over a statue of the meditating Buddha. The temple does not divide. It gathers, and tonight, in this softly drifting moment, it reminds us that all the world's quiet wisdoms can rest together, like different colored flowers in the same gentle garden. Buddhism in Cambodia is mostly Theravada Buddhism, often called the Way of the Elders. It is one of the older traditions focused on quiet meditation, gentle ethics, and the soft, patient practice of mindfulness. Monks wear robes of warm saffron and walk barefoot through the early morning streets, their bowls held softly before them, receiving offerings of rice and fruit from quiet families. Their lives are slow and intentional. They wake before dawn. They sweep their courtyards. They sit in meditation beneath spreading trees. And many of them have walked through Angkor Wat at one time or another, their bare feet brushing the same stones the ancient builders set in place. Their presence, like the temple itself, feels timeless, anchoring all who come near to a quieter, deeper rhythm. We come now to a place known as the Bakan, the central sanctuary at the very heart of the temple. To reach it, one climbs a steep stairway made of soft, worn sandstone. The stairs are intentionally steep, a symbol of the great effort one must make to reach the heavens. In ancient times, only the king and the highest priests were permitted to climb to the top. Today, the climb is gentle in our imagination, our dream feet floating up rather than walking. At the top, we find ourselves inside the inner sanctuary, a small chamber once filled with sacred images of Vishnu. The walls are smooth, the air is cool, and the silence is the deepest silence in all the temple. Standing here is like standing inside a great patient heart, beating slowly, 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 in time with the breath of the universe itself. The roof of the central tower curves softly inward, narrowing gracefully toward the sky. It is constructed using a method called corbelling, where each stone slightly overhangs the one below it, gradually closing the gap until a single stone is placed at the very top. The Khmer engineers used this method beautifully, though it limited the size of interior chambers. To them, the small inner space was not a flaw. It was the point. A sanctuary should be a place of intimacy, not grandeur. A place where the world becomes very small and the heart becomes very large. Standing inside one of these chambers, looking up at the gentle inward spiral of the stones, one feels embraced, as if held inside a vast stone flower whose petals are slowly closing for the night. The carvings on the inner walls include scenes from great Hindu epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. These are some of the world's oldest and most beloved stories, full of heroes, demons, gods, kindly creatures, and quiet morals about love, duty, and forgiveness. Along one wall, you can find the famous Battle of Lanka, where Prince Rama, with help from the monkey god Hanuman, rescues his beloved Sita from the demon king Ravana. The battle is fierce in the story, but in the stone, it feels almost peaceful, a slow, patient choreography of figures, each one frozen in a moment of grace. The sandstone holds the story tenderly, the way a grandmother holds an old, beloved book of bedtime tales, ready to read aloud whenever a quiet child asks. Among the most beloved carvings is the churning of the ocean of milk, which we mentioned briefly before. The full scene stretches nearly 50 meters along one of the galleries. In the story, gods and demons gather around a great cosmic serpent named Vasuki, who has been wrapped around a mountain. The gods pull on one end, the demons pull on the other, and the mountain churns the ocean, slowly turning the milky waters into the nectar of immortality. The carving captures every detail with quiet wonder. Vishnu watches from above, Apsaras emerge from the churning waves. Sea creatures spin gently in the foam. It is a story about patience, about how the most precious things in the world are not gained quickly, but slowly, gently, through long and patient effort. And isn't that something worth dreaming about tonight? The temple is not the only one in the Angkor region. Around it lie hundreds of other temples, ruins, and shrines, scattered like soft jewels across the forested plain. There is Bayon, with its mysterious smiling stone faces. There is Ta Prohm, where great strangler fig trees have grown into the very walls. There is Bante Sray, the citadel of women, with its delicate, rose-pink carvings so fine they look almost like embroidered fabric. There is Preah Khan, with its long, shadowy corridors. There are temples named after kings, after gods, after dragons, after the soft sound of birds. Together, they form one of the largest temple complexes in the world, a sleeping kingdom of stone, where every step reveals another silent prayer left behind by another long-ago heart. Of all these surrounding temples, Ta Prohm is perhaps the most dreamlike. There, enormous silk cotton trees and strangler figs have grown directly into the temple walls. Their pale roots cascade down the stones like slow, frozen waterfalls. Their branches lift the rooftops gently into the canopy. The trees and the temple have become one, neither destroying the other, but slowly becoming a single, living being. To walk through Ta Prohm is to walk through a place where time and forest have made peace, where stone and root have agreed to share. Light filters through the leaves in dappled patterns, and small green shoots grow from the cracks in the walls. The whole place breathes softly, slowly, and to stand within it is to feel that one's own heart is breathing softly too. There are also smaller, more delicate temples among the Angkor sites. Bante Sray, mentioned a moment ago, is one of these. It is made from a kind of red sandstone, almost the color of rose petals at sunset. Its carvings are extraordinarily fine, intricate as lace, with tiny scenes of gods and animals so detailed that some scholars believe only women's small, careful hands could have carved them. Whether that is true or simply a sweet legend, the temple is one of the gentlest in all of Angkor. It glows in the late afternoon as though it were lit from within. Its proportions are small, almost like a temple built for children of the gods, and its quiet beauty is a reminder that not all sacred things need to be vast. Some are perfect simply because they are tender, small, and finely made, far above the temples. The night sky over Cambodia is rich with stars. Long ago, the Khmer astronomers knew this sky intimately. They tracked the slow turning of the constellations, the gentle progress of the moon, the rising of the planets. They built their temples to mirror what they saw above. The 5 towers of Angkor Wat are not only Mount Meru, but also a kind of stellar map, aligning with certain positions of the stars at certain times of year. Tonight, the same stars wheel overhead, soft and bright, scattered across the velvet darkness like a child's handful of luminous sand. They watched the stones rise. They will watch the stones long after our small lifetimes have passed. And tonight, gently, they watch over us too. There is a soft, sweet sound to the names of the Khmer kings. Suryavarman, Jayavarman, Yasovarman, Indravarman. The suffix Varman means protector, and so each name is, at heart, a kind of blessing. Protector of the sun, protector of victory, protector of glory, protector of the sky. These kings built temples not only as palaces for the gods, but as offerings, as quiet acts of devotion. Some scholars believe each temple was meant to be the king's spiritual home after death, a place where his soul might come to rest, and to bless the lands he had ruled. To think of it that way is to soften the stone, to feel the temple not as monument, but as a long, patient prayer asked of the heavens by a king who loved his people very much. Music in old Cambodia was an essential part of temple life. The court of the king included gentle ensembles of musicians playing the pinpeat, a soft orchestra of xylophones, gongs, drums and reed instruments. Their music was slow and ceremonial, used during royal events, religious rituals and dances. Even now, in some Cambodian villages, you can still hear pinpeat music drifting softly through the warm evening air, the gentle thump of drums, the sweet whisper of bamboo. Long ago, this same music filled the temple at festivals, and the apsaras carved into the walls may have danced to its rhythm. Tonight, no music plays in the courtyards, only the soft sound of insects, the gentle hush of leaves. But if you listen very closely, in your slow dreaming, you can still hear it, faintly drifting upward into the stars. The dances themselves are still performed today. Cambodian classical dance, often called royal ballet, is one of the oldest performing arts in Southeast Asia. The dancers wear elaborate costumes of silk, gold thread, and shimmering ornaments. Their movements are slow and precise, their fingers bent backward in graceful, otherworldly gestures, each one carrying meaning, a story, an emotion. Many of their poses are direct echoes of the apsaras carved into the temple walls. When you watch them dance, you are watching the stone come alive, the carved goddesses lifting themselves from the sandstone and moving gently across the moonlit floor. The dance is a living memory, a moving prayer, a quiet act of gentle preservation, passed from teacher to student, from grandmother to granddaughter, for 1,000 soft, slow years. Among the most famous dances is the Robam Apsara, the dance of the celestial maidens. It is performed slowly, with measured grace, the dancers tracing soft circles with their feet, lifting their arms like flower stems, smiling gently as though listening to music only they can hear. Each gesture is a word in an ancient language of grace. The hand bent like a lotus bud, the wrist tilted like a moon in the sky, the foot raised lightly like a heron stepping across still water. To watch this dance is to feel time slow to almost nothing. Even now, in your imagining, you can see them, their silks catching the moonlight, their gentle smiles reflecting from polished stones. They dance only for the night, only for those who are softly drifting, only for you. As the seasons turn, certain festivals come to Angkor Wat. The most beloved is perhaps the Bon Shul Chnam, the Khmer New Year, celebrated in mid-April when the dry season eases into the soft promise of the coming rains. During this gentle festival, families gather to clean their homes, to offer food at temples, to make small kind gestures toward the spirits of their ancestors. They pour cool water on the hands of their elders as a sign of respect. They light incense at quiet shrines. They play traditional games in dusty village squares. The whole country slows for several days, breathing more gently, eating more sweetly, laughing more softly. And many people travel to Angkor Wat during this time to walk its corridors at dawn, to ask the temple for a peaceful year ahead. Another beloved time is Pshum Ben, sometimes called the Festival of the Ancestors, observed in the soft, golden weeks of late September or early October. During Pshum Ben, families bring small offerings of rice and sweets to temples, leaving them gently for the spirits of those who came before. There is no sadness in this, only tenderness, only a sweet remembering. The temples fill with the soft scent of incense, the slow chanting of monks, the gentle laughter of children running between the columns. Pshum Ben reminds us that those we love are never truly gone. Their soft presence is woven into the rice we eat, the songs we sing, the temples we visit. They are with us, every day, watching kindly, the way the moon watches over a sleeping village. The forest around Angkor Wat is rich with life. Long-tailed macaques play softly among the ruins, their golden fur catching the morning sun. Wild peacocks sometimes wander into the courtyards, trailing their iridescent tails behind them, like slow-moving rivers of color. Small barking deer step gently through the undergrowth. In the upper branches, gibbons sometimes sing their slow morning songs, sweet and rolling, carrying for miles across the trees. Bats drift through the towers at dusk, dark silhouettes against a peach-colored sky. Tiny fireflies blink in the warm evening air. The forest is full of breath, the temple is full of breath. Together they form a single living, sleeping body, vast and patient, who has welcomed countless travelers across centuries and welcomes you, dear listener, tonight. Among the most charming forest residents are the small geckos that live in the temple walls. They are the ones who make those gentle chirping sounds in the evenings. There is even a kind of gecko in Cambodia called the tokay gecko, whose voice sounds almost like its name. A soft, friendly tokay, tokay, tokay. Its body is dappled blue and orange, like a small painted miracle. It clings happily to walls and ceilings, watching the world with calm golden eyes. Local legend says that hearing a tokay gecko's call is good luck. Whether that is true or not, hearing one tonight in the warm jungle dark, far away across oceans, is the kind of small, soothing sound that gently quiets the mind. Imagine its small chirp now, soft and friendly, fading slowly into the quiet of the trees. Lotuses bloom in the moats and pools of Angkor, their pink and white petals opening softly each morning, closing tenderly each evening. The lotus is a sacred flower in both Hindu and Buddhist traditions, a symbol of purity, peace, and the gentle unfolding of the spirit. It grows from the mud at the bottom of a pond, sending its long stem upward through the water, and finally opening its perfect blossom upon the surface, untouched by anything dirty or troubled. It teaches a quiet lesson that beauty can rise from any depth, that softness can follow any storm. Tonight, picture a lotus floating on the still waters of the moat. The petals are touched gently by moonlight. The water is glass still. And the lotus, like you, is exactly where it needs to be, breathing softly, resting deeply. The water lily, a softer cousin of the lotus, also blooms in the temple's quiet pools. Its leaves float flat upon the surface, while its flowers rise just slightly, holding themselves like small cupped hands, offering quiet light to the sky. In the early morning, these blossoms open with the sun, and in the gentle evening, they fold themselves slowly closed again, the way tired eyes drift gently shut at the end of a long, sweet day. Frogs sometimes rest on their broad green leaves, croaking softly into the dusk. Dragonflies hover above them, their wings catching the last threads of light. The whole pond becomes a small living poem, where flowers, water, and creatures all share the same patient breath. Watching them, even in dreaming imagination, is enough to slow our own breath in turn. Deeper, softer, kinder, until rest itself feels as easy as floating. Cambodian silk, woven for centuries on small wooden looms in villages near Angkor, is one of the gentlest fabrics in the world. The thread comes from silkworms raised on mulberry leaves, fed quietly in cool, shaded sheds. The cocoons are softened in warm water and unwound by patient hands, the silk thread spooling out as fine as a spider's web. The fabric is then dyed with natural colors taken from plants and roots, soft golds, deep indigos, rose pinks, jungle greens. Long ago, the apsaras and the queens of the Khmer court wore garments of this very silk. Even today, in markets near Angkor, you can find small lengths of it for sale, draped over wooden tables, glowing softly in the afternoon sun. To touch it is to touch something tender and ancient, a fabric woven from sunlight, patience, and the gentle hum of small wings. The dyes themselves are works of quiet artistry. Indigo, a deep, dusky blue, comes from the leaves of the indigo plant, soaked and fermented slowly in clay jars. Red and pink come from the lac insect, or the soft bark of certain trees. Yellow comes from turmeric root, or the wood of the jackfruit tree. Each dye has its own gentle method, its own slow ritual, its own particular way of asking the plant for its color. The weavers wait. The colors come. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is forced. And the resulting silk seems to carry the memory of every patient day that went into its making. To wear such silk, even in dreams, is to feel held by the kindness of long generations, the kindness of mothers and grandmothers, the kindness of green growing things. The kitchens of old Khmer kings were filled with gentle, fragrant cooking. Rice was the soft heart of every meal, prepared in many ways, steamed in banana leaves, simmered with coconut milk, sweetened with palm sugar. Fish from the great Tonle Sap Lake was grilled slowly over small fires. Curries were made with fresh lemongrass, galangal root, kaffir lime leaves, and turmeric, their scents drifting through the palace corridors like soft songs. Mangoes, lychees, and rambutans were served on quiet ceramic plates. Even today, much of Cambodian cooking follows these same gentle traditions, slow, fragrant, and tender, made with the calm patience of long ago. To imagine such a meal now, with its quiet flavors and warm aromas, is to feel a slow comfort settle into the chest, the comfort of being well fed, well loved, and gently safe. The Tonle Sap Lake, just south of Angkor, is one of the most extraordinary lakes in the world. During the dry season, it is a quiet, modest body of water. But during the wet season, when the monsoon rains swell the Mekong River, the river's flow actually reverses, pushing water backward into the lake. The lake then expands to nearly 5 times its dry season size, swelling outward across the gentle plains, drowning the surrounding forests in soft, slow water. Trees that stood tall in the dry season are now half submerged, their lower branches becoming the homes of fish and turtles. Whole floating villages drift gently on the lake's surface, their wooden houses bobbing peacefully as the seasons change. The lake breathes in and out across the year like an enormous, gentle creature, the soft pulse of all of Cambodia. The people who live on the Tonle Sap have a deeply gentle way of life. Their houses float on bamboo platforms or are lifted on tall stilts, so that the rising water never disturbs them. They fish with small woven nets and traps, paddling out at dawn in slim wooden boats. Their gardens grow on floating mats. Their schools, shops, and small temples all float, too. Children paddle small canoes between houses, and roosters crow softly from floating porches. Their lives have an unhurried rhythm tied directly to the lake. They rise with the water. They rest with the water. They have learned, more deeply than most of us, that the world is always moving, and that the kindest thing we can do is move with it, slowly, peacefully, never resisting, only flowing along. The fish from the Tonle Sap once helped feed the entire Khmer Empire. The lake is so rich with life that, during the wet season, it produces more freshwater fish per acre than almost anywhere else on Earth. Long ago, Khmer fishermen brought their catches to the markets near Angkor, where they were salted, dried, or fermented into a soft paste, called prahok, a beloved Cambodian flavor. The temples were supported, in part, by these gentle harvests. Rice from the fields and fish from the lake fed the artisans, the priests, the dancers, the kings. Everything in the empire was woven together, a quiet web of giving and receiving, water and stone, hand and harvest. And the temple at the center of it all, Angkor Wat, was the patient heart of that gentle, breathing web. To the north of Angkor, the great Mekong River curves gently through the land, its waters wide and slow, the color of soft milk tea. It is one of the longest rivers in Asia, beginning high in the Tibetan Plateau and flowing all the way south to the sea, passing through China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia and Vietnam along its long, patient journey. The Khmer people have lived along its banks for thousands of years. Their canoes drift along its currents, their villages line its shores, their temples, including Angkor, were built on lands nourished by its quiet floods. To stand beside the Mekong at evening, watching the orange sun sink slowly into the water, is to feel a kind of deep, soft peace. The river simply flows, it does not rush, it does not delay, and we gently learn from it. The fish that swim in the Mekong are among the largest freshwater fish in the world. The Mekong giant catfish, for example, can grow to nearly 10 feet long, gliding slowly through the murky depths like a great gentle shadow. The Irrawaddy dolphin, a soft, round-headed creature with a slightly smiling face, lives in certain quiet stretches of the river. These dolphins are deeply respected by local people, considered sacred guardians of the water. Their slow, gentle movements remind us how much beauty rests beneath the surface of things. In places we cannot always see, in lives we cannot always know. They surface briefly, take a soft breath, and slip again beneath the warm brown water. The river holds them, just as the night holds us, gently, completely, kindly. Returning now to Angkor Wat, we find ourselves in a quieter corner of the temple, where the carvings are smaller and softer, almost intimate. Here, the ancient artists carved tiny domestic scenes alongside the great cosmic ones. A woman gives birth, with two attendants holding her gently. A man cooks fish over a small open fire. Children play near their mother's feet. A musician strums an old stringed instrument. These scenes are easy to miss among the grand battles and divine processions, but they are some of the most touching carvings in the whole temple. They remind us that even in a place built for gods and kings, the everyday tenderness of life was honored, too. A mother, a meal, a song. The most sacred things, after all, are often the smallest. The Khmer Empire produced not only temples, but also magnificent bronze sculptures. Some of these were small statues of gods and goddesses made for personal worship in the home. Others were larger, sometimes life-sized, used in temple rituals. They were cast using a process called lost wax casting, in which a wax model was covered in clay, then heated until the wax melted away, leaving a hollow shape into which molten bronze was poured. The bronze, once cooled, was carefully polished until the statue gleamed like firelight. Many of these statues are now in museums, but a few remain in their original homes, watching quietly over small village shrines. Their gentle faces, slightly smiling, slightly sleepy, are some of the kindest faces in all of art. To imagine them now is to feel a quiet kindness fall softly across one's own face. The Khmer also worked with ceramics, making soft brown and green pottery that they used in everyday life. The pots were not signed. They were not famous. They were simply made, used, and loved. Cooking pots, storage jars, small bowls for dipping sauces, lamps for lighting cool evening rooms. Many of these humble objects have been found in the soil around Angkor, often broken, but still beautiful in their gentle imperfection. They remind us that history is not only made of grand things, but also of small, quiet things? The bowl you ate from? The lamp that lit your evenings? The pot in which your family stored its rice? These small kindnesses are how a civilization truly lives, and how it gently survives into the dreams of distant centuries. Cambodian palm leaf manuscripts are another tender form of Khmer art and learning. Long ago, scribes wrote sacred texts on long, thin strips of dried palm leaves, using a sharp stylus to scratch the letters into the leaf. They then rubbed soot or charcoal into the marks, leaving a soft black script across the pale leaf. The leaves were stacked together, tied with cord, and stored in carved wooden boxes. These manuscripts contained Buddhist scriptures, traditional medicine, astrology, folk tales, and slow, gentle poetry. To open one was to open a small, fragrant book made of jungle leaves. Even today, in certain old monasteries in Cambodia, you can find such manuscripts still kept in their wooden boxes. The leaves still legible after centuries, holding their words patiently, waiting for kind eyes to read them once more. Among the traditional folk tales of Cambodia is the story of a hare and a snail who race to the top of a hill. The hare laughs at the slow little snail and races ahead, certain of victory. But the snail, wise and patient, asks all of her snail cousins to spread out along the path. As the hare runs, every time it pauses and calls out, a snail somewhere ahead answers, until the hare grows tired and confused. The snail family, by working gently together, wins. The story is light and sweet, but it carries an old Khmer wisdom that gentleness, patience, and quiet community can outlast even the swiftest efforts. Tonight, as you rest, allow yourself to feel like one of those little snails, slow, unhurried, and yet, somehow, always already arriving at exactly the right place. Another beloved tale tells of a young man named Thaun, who outwits a series of greedy lords through cleverness and kindness. The stories of Thaun are told to Cambodian children at bedtime, much the way other cultures tell stories of clever foxes or wise rabbits. In one tale, Thaun helps a poor farmer keep his harvest. In another, he helps a widow protect her cooking pots. He is small, but his heart is large. He is poor, but his mind is bright. The stories are gentle, never harsh, and always end with the kind people finding their way to peace. Imagine a Cambodian grandmother, long ago, telling these stories to her grandchildren as the sun set, the candle flickered, and the temple bells rang faintly from the distant hills. Just as Cambodia has its bedtime stories, it also has its lullabies. Khmer lullabies are slow and tender, with soft melodies that rise and fall like waves. One traditional lullaby tells of a mother rocking her baby beside a still pond, where lotus flowers bloom and small fish swim gently in the cool water. Another speaks of the moon rising over the rice fields, watching kindly as the little one drifts to sleep. These lullabies have been sung for centuries, drifting from one quiet wooden home to another, from one mother's lips to another's, across thousands of warm, soft evenings. Their melodies feel deeply familiar, even to ears that have never heard them before, because all lullabies share the same gentle ancestor, the same slow, patient love that has rocked babies to sleep since the world began. The sky over Angkor at dusk turns through a slow palette of colors: soft peach, pale rose, lavender, deep violet, and finally the velvet indigo of full night. As the sun sets, fruit bats emerge from the forest canopy, drifting silently across the sky like small dark leaves. The temple stones cool gently. The air softens. Insects begin their slow evening songs. The whole world takes a soft, collective breath as the day releases its grip, and the night kindly receives its gentle weight. Long ago, monks would chant during this hour, their low voices rolling through the corridors like calm thunder. Tonight, in our imagining, no chants are needed. The temple knows how to rest. The forest knows how to rest. The sky knows how to rest. And so, dear listener, do you? When the moon rises full over Angkor Wat, it has a particular sweetness. It lifts itself slowly above the eastern jungle, large and golden, its face gentle and round, like a kind elder watching over a sleeping village. Its light pours softly across the temple, painting the towers in silver, the carvings in pale cream, the moat in mirror. Local people sometimes still gather to view the full moon, especially during certain festivals, when offerings are made and small candles are lit. The moon is patient. The temple is patient. The moat is patient. And tonight, you too can be patient, allowing the slow turning of the world to gently rock you, the way the moon rocks the tides, the way the tides rock the shores, the way the shores rock the small, soft hearts that rest upon them. There is a special Cambodian festival called Bon Om Tuk, the Water Festival, held each November to celebrate the gentle reversal of the Tonle Sap's currents. During this festival, long, slim boats race across the rivers, their oarsmen chanting rhythmically in unison. There are gentle fireworks, there are floating lanterns, there are food markets full of laughter and warm noodles and small candies. Families gather along the riverbanks to watch the lanterns drift slowly across the water. At night, the rivers and ponds shimmer with thousands of small lights like fallen stars resting on the surface of the world. Even though the festival is lively, it carries a deep peacefulness, a sense that the whole country is breathing together, celebrating the soft, faithful rhythm of water that has cradled them for centuries. Cambodian floating lanterns are made from banana leaves, folded carefully into small boats. Inside each lantern, a single candle is placed, along with offerings of flowers, incense, and sometimes a few small coins. They are released into the river with quiet wishes, gentle hopes for the future, words whispered softly under the breath. The lanterns drift away on the slow current, becoming small points of golden light until they finally disappear around a distant bend. Watching them go is one of the gentlest things in the world. There is no urgency to it, no expectation, only the soft surrender of one's wish to the patient kindness of the water, trusting that whatever needs to happen will happen, in its own slow time, in its own gentle way. Returning to Angkor Wat in our dreaming wandering, we step softly into one of the long galleries we visited before, the one filled with the celestial dancers. The moonlight is brighter now, pouring through the gaps in the roof, painting the floor with long, pale rectangles of light. The apsaras seem to glow faintly in this light. Their stone scarves catch the soft brightness. Their gentle smiles seem to widen, just slightly. It is as though they have grown used to us walking past them, and they nod, kindly, in greeting. The temple becomes a quieter place at night than during the day. Without the daytime crowds, without the heat of the sun, it returns to what it always wanted to be, a place of stillness, a place of stone music, a place of soft, sleeping beauty. The carvings of the apsaras include the smallest, most tender details, the folds of their garments, gently flowing, the tiny earrings hanging from their ears, the small flowers tucked behind their hair, the careful patterns of their bracelets and anklets. Each one is a quiet portrait, a small love letter from the carver to the carved. Some apsaras have lost their faces over time, worn gently by centuries of breath and rain. But even those faceless dancers feel beautiful, mysterious, soft. They have become like dreams, where the precise features fade, but the deep feeling remains. We pass them slowly, our footsteps soft on the cool stone, and they seem to acknowledge us, kindly, peacefully, as though we have been welcome here all along. The kings of Angkor were considered Devarajas, god-kings, embodiments of divine power on earth. This was a Hindu concept, brought into Khmer culture through ancient trade with India. The Devaraja was not exactly a god, but neither was he only a man. He was a kind of bridge between heaven and earth, his life a slow ritual of devotion meant to keep the kingdom in harmony with the cosmos. To honor him, his subjects built temples, performed dances, offered rice. In return, the king was meant to rule with wisdom, with kindness, with care for the land and its many quiet creatures. Some kings did this well. Others, perhaps less well, but the ideal endured, the dream that a ruler should be, above all things, a kind and gentle servant of harmony itself. Suryavarman II, who began building Angkor Wat, was one of the most thoughtful of the Khmer kings. He came to power around 1113, when he was still quite young, and ruled for nearly 40 years. He was a Hindu devotee of Vishnu and built his great temple in Vishnu's honor. He was also a patron of the arts, a friend of poets, and a careful administrator. The kingdom flourished under his quiet, steady hand. The fields grew rich with rice. The artisans grew bold in their carvings. The temples rose, year after year, like soft stone flowers blooming across the plains. When he passed, his soul, it was said, returned to the central tower of Angkor Wat, where it rests now, gently, watching over his beloved land. The artisans who served Suryavarman are themselves a kind of unsung miracle. They came from many regions, brought together by the great project, working sometimes for decades on the temple's many surfaces. Some were master sculptors, with deep expertise in proportion and grace. Others were apprentices, learning slowly under their elders. They lived in small wooden houses near the construction site. They ate simple meals of rice and fish and quiet vegetables. They sang songs as they worked. They taught their children, and they left, behind every stroke of every chisel, a quiet love for what they were making. Their love is still here, in every carved curve, every gentle smile, every tiny lifted hand. The stone remembers them, though we no longer know their names. We arrive now at a small inner courtyard called the Hall of 1,000 Buddhas. Long after the temple shifted from Hindu to Buddhist use, this hall became a quiet place where pilgrims would leave small Buddha statues, hundreds upon hundreds of them, in gentle gratitude or in quiet hope. Over the centuries, most of these statues have been moved or lost, but a few small ones still remain, tucked into niches in the walls, smiling softly in the cool stone shadow. The hall is one of the most peaceful spots in the temple, even now. To stand within it is to feel the accumulated kindness of countless small offerings, countless small prayers, gathered like soft warmth in the patient air. Outside this hall, just along the eastern wall, you can sometimes still see traces of red paint on the stone, hidden in places where the rain has not reached. Long ago, much of the temple was painted, not only the carvings, but also large stretches of the walls themselves. Reds, golds, and blues were the most common colors. The interiors of certain galleries may have been gently bright, glowing in candlelight like the inside of an illuminated book. We can only imagine it now. The paint has faded into the warm honey gold of the bare stone, which has its own quiet beauty, but knowing the paint was once there adds a soft layer to every glance. Beneath the surface of all old things, there is always another story, softly waiting. The temple has survived a great deal over its long life. It has weathered 9 centuries of monsoon rains. It has endured wars and political shifts, including the difficult times of the 20th century in Cambodia. Yet through all of it, the temple has remained patient and kind, a quiet, unwavering presence at the heart of its country. The Cambodian flag itself bears the image of Angkor Wat, a soft silhouette of its 5 towers on a deep red and blue field. It is one of only a few national flags in the world that features a building, and it shows just how deeply the temple is woven into the soul of Cambodia. The temple is the country's heart. The country, in turn, gently guards the temple, and the world, in its own slow way, has learned to love them both. In 1992, Angkor Wat and the surrounding temples were named a UNESCO World Heritage Site, joining a small, quiet family of places considered too important to the human spirit ever to be lost. The honor brought new attention, new help, and new care. Conservationists from many countries arrived to gently restore certain areas, working slowly and patiently, the way you might tend to a beloved garden after a long absence. They cleaned the stones. They reinforced the walls. They studied the carvings. They walked the corridors at dawn, taking quiet notes. The temple, in turn, opened its long arms once more to the world, welcoming visitors gently, asking only that they walk softly, breathe slowly, and remember that they are guests in a very old home. Restoration at Angkor Wat is a slow art. It is not about making the temple look new, but about keeping it gently safe so it can continue being itself. Conservators use traditional materials wherever possible: lime mortars, sandstone replacements from the same quarries used by the ancient builders, careful hand tools rather than loud machinery. Each stone returned to its place is a quiet act of kindness. Each cleaned carving is a soft thank you across the centuries. Some carvings are left exactly as they are, weathered and worn, because their slow weathering is also part of their story. The temple does not want to be young again. It wants only to keep breathing, slowly, sweetly. Surrounded by the patient love of those who care for it, we come now to one of the temple's lesser-known wonders, a quiet feature called the Hall of Echoes. It is a small chamber inside the central sanctuary, where the walls have a peculiar acoustic quality. If you stand inside and gently strike your chest, the sound echoes softly through the room, a low, hollow thump that seems to circle around you before fading. Local guides sometimes invite visitors to try it, smiling kindly. The effect is small but startling, a reminder that the temple was not built only to be seen, but to be experienced through every sense. Tonight, in your imagining, you do not need to strike your chest. The temple already echoes inside you, softly, gently, with the steady rhythm of your slowing breath, the soft pulse of your sleepy, sleepy heart. The temple's location, in the lowland plains of central Cambodia, was carefully chosen. The land here is rich with monsoon-fed alluvium, the perfect soil for rice. Nearby rivers offered water and easy transport. Sacred mountains in the distance offered sandstone and laterite, the two main building materials. Laterite is a soft, reddish stone that becomes hard once exposed to air, useful for foundations and inner walls. Sandstone, finer and easier to carve, was used for the visible surfaces. The Khmer builders chose materials with great care, matching each stone to its task. They were patient with the earth, asking gently for what they needed, taking only what was offered, and leaving behind something that continues to give back. Even now, even tonight, the journey of each sandstone block to Angkor Wat is a small, gentle epic. The stones were cut at quarries near Phnom Kulen Mountain, about 40 kilometers to the northeast. From there, they were transported, possibly along ancient canals, all the way to the temple site. Some scholars believe the Khmer built a network of canals specifically for this purpose, allowing rafts of stone to drift slowly into place over many years. The sheer scale of the project is gentle to imagine. Thousands of stones, each one weighing hundreds or even thousands of kilograms. all drifting softly down quiet waterways, all eventually placed into the temple's growing form. The whole project was a slow, peaceful dance of patience, ingenuity, and love. Phnom Kulen, the sacred mountain from which the stones came, is itself a beautiful place. Its name means Mountain of Lychees, in honor of the sweet red fruits that grow on its slopes. Long ago, an early Khmer king named Jayavarman II declared himself ruler of a unified Khmer kingdom from the top of this mountain in the year 802. The mountain is dotted with small ancient shrines, gentle waterfalls, and carvings of lingers in the rivers, sacred symbols of cosmic creation. Today, families sometimes picnic beside its cool streams, eating mangoes and sticky rice in the shade. The mountain still feels deeply sacred. Tonight, in our quiet dreaming picture, the lychees ripening softly on its slopes, glowing red in the late afternoon sun, the leaves above them whispering gently in a warm breeze. There is, near the top of Phnom Kulen, a place called the River of 1,000 Lingers. There, the riverbed itself is carved with hundreds of small lingers, each one a sacred symbol of the divine. As the water flows over them, it is believed to become blessed, gently sanctified by the carvings beneath. The river then flows downward, eventually feeding the canals that nourished Angkor. So in a quiet, beautiful way, the entire kingdom of Angkor was watered by water that had passed over these sacred carvings. The Khmer thought of holiness not as something separate from daily life, but as something woven into everything, into the water you drank, the rice you ate, the air you breathed. Everything was sacred. Everything was kind. Everything was a slow, soft prayer. Just outside the temple walls, on certain quiet mornings, you can sometimes see local monks walking softly along the causeway, their saffron robes glowing warm against the pale stone. They walk slowly, in single file, their bare feet barely making a sound. They are headed to small rituals or to gather alms, their daily round through the nearby village. The image of these monks, against the great backdrop of Angkor Wat, is one of the most peaceful images in the world. The ancient stones and the living monks share a slow, sweet rhythm. Both have learned the art of being patient. Both have learned the art of being kind. Both have learned the gentle wisdom of moving slowly through the world, without urgency, without weight, without fear. Cambodian monks rise before dawn, sometimes as early as 4 in the morning, to begin their day with meditation and chanting. Their voices rise softly into the still air, low and slow, like the gentle hum of bees in a far-off garden. They chant in Pali, an ancient language of the Buddha's teachings, words whose meanings even some monks barely know, but whose sound carries a deep, calming familiarity. By the time the sun rises, they have already eaten their simple breakfast, swept their courtyards, and begun their walking alms round. Their lives are calm, slow, and full of small, patient kindnesses. To hear their chanting is to feel one's own breath gently lengthen, the way a sleeping baby's breath does in the deep, soft middle of the night. The art of Cambodian shadow puppetry, called spek tom, is another quiet, ancient tradition. The puppets are made from large pieces of cowhide, beautifully cut into intricate shapes of gods, heroes, dancers, and demons. A single puppet can be the size of a small person. They are not moved with strings or sticks, but held aloft by the puppeteers themselves, who dance behind a great white screen, holding the puppets between themselves and a fire. The flickering firelight casts the puppets' shadows onto the screen, where the audience watches. Each performance is accompanied by music and chanting, telling stories from the Ramayana and other old epics. To watch spek tom is to watch storytelling at its slowest and most patient. A sacred, gentle theatre that has flickered softly through Cambodian evenings for over 1,000 years. The shadows themselves carry their own quiet magic. They are not as sharp as the puppets, nor as clear, They are softened by the firelight, blurred at the edges. Like dreams, the audience sees not the puppets, but their shadows, ghostly and gentle, dancing on the white screen. Long ago, after the performance, the audience would sometimes walk home through the warm Cambodian night, their own shadows long against the moonlit ground, feeling that they too were part of some quiet ancient story, that life itself was a kind of shadow play, beautiful and brief and tender. To remember this tonight, as you drift towards sleep, is to feel your own life softly blessed, as though watched over by patient, kindly puppeteers behind some great white screen. The Cambodian alphabet, in which both Khmer and Sanskrit have been written for over 1,000 years, is one of the most graceful writing systems in the world. Its letters are curvy and flowing, with delicate loops and gentle hooks. Each letter looks almost like a small dance, a graceful gesture of ink across the page. Inscriptions in this script appear throughout Angkor Wat, on walls, lintels, and door frames. Even if you cannot read it, the script is beautiful to look at, like watching small flames flicker softly in a quiet candle. The letters seem to murmur to one another, gently, conspiratorially, the way old friends murmur at the end of a long evening, sharing one last secret before going to bed. The Cambodian language itself is soft and flowing, full of gentle consonants and round vowels. It is a member of the Mon Khmer language family, related to languages spoken in scattered villages across Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar. Khmer is unusual in that it does not use tones, unlike many of its neighboring Asian languages. Its sound is gentle, almost wave-like, rising and falling in soft patterns. To listen to a Cambodian grandmother telling a story to her grandchildren is to hear a kind of slow music, a music that does not need instruments, only love. Even if you do not understand the words, the rhythm itself feels like a lullaby, like the wind blowing softly through bamboo, like the rain falling slowly on banana leaves at the close of a warm afternoon. The bamboo of Cambodia is itself a small wonder. It grows quickly and gently, sometimes as much as a foot in a single day during the wet season. It is used for everything in Cambodian villages, for houses, for fences, for baskets, for ladders, for furniture, for musical instruments, for small toys. A village built of bamboo seems almost to grow from the earth, soft brown and pale green, blending gently into the trees behind it. When the wind blows through a bamboo grove, the canes make a soft, hollow clicking sound, like a wooden wind chime made by the forest itself. To stand inside such a grove is to feel that you are inside a great, living instrument, played gently by the breeze, soothing every soft, drifting thought. Cambodian palm trees are another gentle feature of the landscape. Sugar palms in particular grow tall and slender, with their large fan-shaped leaves clustered at the top. They are sometimes called the national tree of Cambodia. Farmers climb them to collect the sweet sap from their flower stalks, which is then boiled down into palm sugar, a soft, fragrant sweetener used in countless Cambodian dishes. Palm sugar is gentler than cane sugar, with a hint of caramel and a soft, honey-like richness. Imagine a small clay bowl of palm sugar dissolving slowly into a warm cup of jasmine tea on a quiet Cambodian evening, the steam rising softly into the air, the cricket song growing slowly louder outside. The whole world settling into a sweet, slow rest. Jasmine itself blooms widely throughout Cambodia, its small white flowers releasing their famous fragrance in the cool of the evening. In old Khmer poetry, jasmine is often used as a symbol of beauty, gentleness, and quiet love. Mothers tuck strands of jasmine into the hair of their daughters before festivals. Buddhist devotees offer jasmine garlands at temple altars. The scent of jasmine is so closely woven into the Cambodian evening that, even far from home, The smell of a single jasmine flower can carry a person instantly back to a soft veranda, a humming evening, a grandmother's smile. As we breathe slowly tonight, picture a small jasmine flower somewhere very close, soft and white and fragrant, releasing its gentle perfume into the cool, quiet air around you. Frangipani, another beloved Cambodian flower, has soft cream and yellow petals and a warm, almost honey-like scent. The trees grow throughout Cambodia, including around Angkor Wat itself. They are sometimes planted near temples and cemeteries, considered gentle companions to both the living and the resting. Their petals fall slowly to the ground in great soft showers, especially in the warm months, carpeting the stone paths in a sweet pale carpet. To walk across fallen frangipani petals in the cool morning, the scent rising softly with each step, is one of the gentlest experiences the world has to offer. Tonight, picture yourself walking such a path, the petals soft beneath your feet, the temple rising kindly above you, the air sweet, the world quiet, your heart at peace. Cambodia is also home to many gentle birds. The hornbill, with its broad wings and curved beak, glides slowly through the upper canopy of the rainforest. The Asian open-bill stork stands quietly in the rice paddies, fishing for small snails with its strangely shaped beak. The white-throated kingfisher flashes blue and white as it dives into still ponds. The greater kukul hops softly between bushes, calling its low, rolling hoo, hoo, hoo. Many of these birds have lived around the temples of Angkor for centuries, raising their families in the carved niches and the surrounding trees. Imagine them now, asleep in their quiet roosts, their soft feathers fluffed against the night, their small breaths slow and steady. The entire forest of birds resting kindly beneath the same large, full moon. Among the smallest of Cambodian creatures is the sunbird, a tiny jewel-like bird with iridescent feathers in greens, purples, and golds. It flits among the flowers, drinking nectar with its slender curved beak, no bigger than a small leaf. To watch a sunbird is to feel that the forest is full of small living jewels, drifting among the petals, sipping the world's quiet sweetness. They build tiny hanging nests, woven from spider silk and soft fibers, dangling from low branches like miniature lanterns. Their songs are high and sweet, like the tinkling of small bells. Even now, as you rest, imagine one such sunbird tucked safely into its tiny nest, the night wrapped softly around it, its small heart beating slowly, peacefully, just like yours. There is a kind of moss that grows softly across many of the stones of Angkor Wat. It does not damage the temple. It simply lives upon it, the way a soft blanket lives upon a bed. The moss is a pale green, almost silvery in certain light, and it gives the stones a gentle, fuzzy warmth. Where the moss has grown, the carvings seem to have settled deeper into the rock, as though the temple itself is slowly returning to the earth in the kindest possible way. Touching such moss is like touching the breath of the forest. It is alive, but it is patient. It grows so slowly that whole years pass before its small green journey advances by even an inch. To live like the moss, slowly, kindly, quietly, is one of the gentle lessons that the temple offers us. Beside the temple, in certain quiet corners, small streams sometimes flow. These streams are fed by the gentle drainage of the temple grounds, the slow trickle of rainwater off the ancient roofs. The streams murmur softly, finding their way between roots, around small stones, beneath the curving branches of trees. They are not impressive. They are not large. They are simply quiet. The way a child humming a lullaby to herself is quiet. To sit beside such a stream, even in dreaming, is to feel time slow even further, until even the soft turning of one's own thoughts becomes a kind of gentle stream, finding its own slow way toward sleep. Every drop, a small kindness. Every ripple, a small song. Every moment, a soft permission to let go. Cambodian tea, traditionally made with lemongrass, ginger, or pandan leaves, is a soft, fragrant evening drink. It is served warm, in small ceramic cups, often after a slow dinner. The steam carries the scent of the herbs upward into the cool night air. A small spoonful of palm sugar can be added, dissolving slowly into the warm water. Drinking such tea on a quiet veranda, watching the fireflies blink in the garden, listening to the low call of a distant gecko, is one of the gentlest evening rituals in the world. Tonight, imagine a small ceramic cup of warm Cambodian tea in your hands. The steam rising softly toward your face, the warmth seeping gently into your palms, the world slowing all around you into a deep, peaceful sweetness. As we continue our slow wandering through Angkor Wat, we pass once again beneath a great stone archway, where the carvings overhead have softened into smooth, dreamlike shapes. Time has gently rubbed away the sharpest edges, leaving the figures looking as though they were sculpted not from stone, but from very soft wax. Their faces have become more abstract, more universal, less like portraits and more like memories. They look like everyone and no one at once. To pass beneath them is to feel, just briefly, that you yourself are also a kind of soft figure, your edges gently rounded by the passing of days, your sharpness lovingly softened by sleep, your spirit shaped, slowly, by all the gentle hands of time. Above the archway, the night sky has deepened to its richest velvet. The stars seem closer, brighter, more abundant than before. The Milky Way itself stretches softly overhead, a slow river of stars flowing across the sky from one horizon to the other. The Khmer people sometimes called the Milky Way the Heavenly River, a great river of light flowing across the God's own land. Looking up at it now, in your slow, dreaming imagination, you can almost feel that river flowing into you, filling your soft thoughts with quiet stars, carrying away your tiredness on its long, gentle current. Each star, a small candle, each constellation, a quiet sentence, each soft glow, a lullaby spoken kindly across the unending, peaceful sky. And so our slow, dreamlike wandering through the ancient temple of Angkor Wat begins to gently come to its quiet close. We have walked together across the long causeway, beneath the great lotus towers, through corridors lined with dancing apsaras, past gardens of carved gods and quiet libraries, beside still moats reflecting the moon. We have listened to the soft chants of unseen monks, smelled the gentle perfume of jasmine and frangipani, watched the soft flicker of imagined firelight against ancient walls, and felt the cool sandstone breathing kindly beneath our fingertips. The temple has stood for nearly 900 years, watching empires rise and soften, watching kings come and go, watching the forest grow patiently around its towers and the moon rise faithfully above them. It has been a Hindu temple, then a Buddhist sanctuary, then a forgotten dream, then a remembered wonder, then a beloved home for the soul of an entire nation. Through every change, it has remained itself, patient, kind, sleeping lightly beneath the stars, dreaming the long, soft dream of stone. The Khmer people who built it, and who still tend it, are a gentle proof that great beauty does not come from hurry. The artisans worked slowly, quietly, with steady hearts. The kings dreamed slowly, deeply. With patient devotion, the forest grew slowly, kindly, with green and tender love. And the temple still teaches us, even tonight, even in our drifting half-sleep, that the most beautiful things in the world are the things that take their time. That slowness, far from being a waste, is one of the deepest forms of grace. If anything you have heard tonight has settled softly into your heart, let it stay there, like a small lotus blooming inside you. Carry it with you into your dreams. Carry it with you into tomorrow. Carry it with you the next time the world feels hurried or heavy, when you can simply pause, breathe slowly, and remember the patient towers, the silver moat, the dancing apsaras, the gentle moon. The temple is far away in waking life, but it is very close in dreaming. And dreaming, after all, is what we are about to do. And now, dear listener, our slow and gentle journey gathers its last soft breath. The night has wrapped itself completely around you, and the world beyond your window has grown quiet, content to let you rest. There is nothing more for you to do tonight, nothing more to think about, nothing more to hold. Whatever weight your day carried has softened, the way evening softens the edges of distant hills, the way moonlight softens the edges of old stone. Let your body settle even deeper now into the warm embrace of your bed. Feel the gentle weight of your blankets, the soft cradle of your pillow, the slow, even rhythm of your own peaceful breath. Imagine, one last time, the great temple of Angkor Wat resting beneath its endless sky. The 5 lotus towers lifted gently toward the stars, the moat shining silver in the moonlight, the carved dancers smiling softly in their long, sweet stillness, the forest breathing slowly all around. The whole ancient kingdom holding the night the way a mother holds a sleeping child. You are part of that quiet now. You are part of the soft, dreaming hush that has settled over the temple for 900 peaceful years. Your breath joins the breath of the lotus pads on the still water. Your heartbeat joins the slow, patient pulse of the sandstone. Your thoughts soften like petals folding closed for the night. Everything in you that was tired is being kindly held. Everything in you that was busy is being gently set down. Everything in you that was longing for rest is, at last, allowed to rest. Thank you for spending this slow, soft evening with me. If this journey brought you any comfort, you are welcome to softly follow science for bedtime, so we can wander together again on another peaceful night. There will be more temples, more rivers, more quiet wonders waiting for us, whenever you are ready. But for now, there is only this, only the soft, warm, dark, only the slow, steady breath, only the gentle pull of sleep, drawing you tenderly into its kind, deep waters. Let go now, completely. Let the temple fade gently into the soft blue distance of your dreams. Let the moonlight dissolve into the warm darkness behind your eyes. Let your breath grow slower, softer, sweeter. You are safe. You are warm. You are deeply, deeply loved by the quiet kindness of the night itself. Good night, and sleep deeply.